Hey, hey, calm down, calm down, come on. Welcome to our very super spooky holiday spooky episode of Pumper Jones Tabletop Gaming Network. On this episode, we're gonna do something different, very earth-shattering, and I know you all love. We're gonna do top 10 list. We're breaking new ground here.
I thought you only had 7 items.
That's the thing about top 10 lists is you make it work. We're gonna look at some super spooky games that you guys might play during your spooky holiday gaming sessions. I know it's certainly a tradition in my household to make a top 10 list during the holidays. We'll be going in order of King of Tokyo first. This one, you might say, Josh, King of Tokyo, that doesn't seem very spooky. But hold on with me from, King of Tokyo is, it has to do with monsters. There's also a Halloween expansion. So we'll just pretend we have the Halloween expansion. That definitely, makes this spooky. We needed a gateway game. And King of Tokyo, as we all know, is one of the better. It's one of the better. It's a good. If you guys haven't played it, I really encourage you to do so. The game rules, they're pretty simple. There's pretty limited components. You can see all the components here, and then you've got your character standees here, and your character sheets come with these nice dials. If you don't add the expansion, this game packs up really well in the box that it comes with. It's a pretty fun game for gamers and non-gamers alike. There you go, spooky. Smash Up, already in its base game form, was a game full of fun. But there are a couple expansions that make it particularly Halloween themed. There's the obligatory Cthulhu expansion, which adds a whole new dynamic of the game with madness. I think, honestly, this has been one of our favorite expansions for Smash Up, for LaShonda and I, just because it just adds a level of variety that spices up the game quite a bit. It can also break the game, but I don't know if it was ever really that serious a game to begin with. But if you're less into your horror beyond the scope of human intellect and imagination, and you prefer a little bit more of the traditional horror beyond the grave, there's another expansion for you as well. That's the expansion I can't quite think of the name of right now. I think I might Google it if I have my phone on me.
Oh, look. There's the name.
But anyways, it's got werewolves. It's got mad scientists. It's got vampires. And it's got giant ants.
Spooky.
When I think of the word spooky, there's probably one game I think of more than any other, and that's Monopoly. That's Betrayal in the House of the Hill. Oh man, I started to repaint the characters. They come with these really crappy pre-painted characters. We left them at home. Betrayal in the House, oh, no, they are here, never mind. This one's pre-painted. This one's starting to repaint. This one we're starting. This one's got sort of primer on them. But anyways, they come with these figures. They're pretty crappy. This is a weird game. I really want to like it. You can't keep it. You can't take it too seriously. It's a fiddly game, but once you kind of organize your tokens pretty well in a thing with a bunch of different It's a fiddly game. There's a bunch of little tokens. The character cards are really atrocious. You have these little markers you're supposed to put on here, but it's so far off, you don't really know what it's pointing to, and it's really bad. And yet, at its core is a really fun, really spooky, campy adventure where you're going through this haunted, maybe it's something else, house, where as you go through, you're revealing tiles, and the shape of your house for that game begins to take shape. There's a 2-act structure where the first act you're exploring this mansion, trying to desperately to level up your character, when suddenly one of you's a baddie. The game shifts generally into a much more humorous and sometimes often game-breaking scenario that really doesn't care about what happened in the first act. I think there are games that do this concept better, but there's something about this game that is so unintentionally silly, like a lot of horror films are, that it's almost a more endearing game than I feel it's a good game. I think we lost a character somewhere. Dark Moon. So this is the commercial iteration of the game formerly known as Battlestar Galactica Express. That was a print and play game. Oh boy, have they changed the theme a lot, because Battlestar Galactica Express definitely couldn't be on the Halloween episode of Pumper Jones because of how seriously we take our subject matter. But this definitely can. They have really been inspired by, I would say, I guess a combination of Alien and the John Carpenter version of the thing. This is no longer remotely like Battlestar anymore. There's no guessing, oh, is someone a Cylon? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. No, this is all one giant suspicion engine, and everything is designed to make everyone trust each other and upset with each other the whole time. It's just one giant witch hunt. So the core of what makes this a suspicion engine is these dice. And if you'll notice, you only have 2 positive outcomes on this dice. The rest are negative, which means you fail at what you're doing, sometimes particularly badly. So the whole time you're gonna be rolling, trying to get stuff done, and half the time you're gonna fail to do it because you don't get that many dice, and your dice are statistically gonna screw you over. If you roll and you get a negative number, oh, you've screwed everyone over. You roll a bunch of dice, so you get a positive number. Guess what? You've possibly committed a bunch of dice, which will screw everyone else over later. So whether you're the good guy or the infected, you're gonna be screwing each other over. So it's just a bunch of people yelling and screaming, depending on who you're playing with, and just a lot of good times to be had. As far as betrayer games or games with a betrayer element are concerned, this one just takes it to the max. That's all the game is. It's just that, but it does what it does very well. It has a beautiful board, and it's not that hard to learn. Unless you're a dummy. Mysterium. This is like Drixit, but for a game that relies on interpreting these abstract pictures as some kind of gameplay mechanic, it does a pretty good job of kind of pulling a theme out of the air to justify all this. Let's take a look. We've got this very beautiful DM sort of so it's asymmetrical gameplay where one person plays as a ghost and they have ghostly aids here. And this faces out, and the ghost can't talk. What the ghost does, the ghost has visions that are prepackaged. So the ghost has a certain amount of visions it can draw every turn. And there's a bunch of crazy characters and spooky locations and infernal items. So it's just the clue who, where, and with what to implicate these people and places and things in the murder of someone. And you use these visions to communicate with the mediums, and the other players are the mediums, and they have orbs. Look at these orbs. They're even semi-translucent. Spooky. And they have a certain amount of time to interpret their visions and implicate who they want to implicate. Here's the mediums you can play as. And,
do they have any larges?
What?
Do they have any larges or smalls?
I don't know. It might be an expansion. Larges or smalls?
Yeah, they only have mediums.
How dare you! Disgusting! How dare you, you disgusting person!
You see the high quality, it's all very thematic, you know, and it blows Drixit out of the water, and it's very spooky and thematic, so. Is that spooky? This next game is a one you may have heard of before on this channel. If not, anyways, Zombicide: The Black Plague. Zombicide: The Black Plague. This cover says it all. Monsters and murder. Really, that's it. You traipse around a bunch of tiles. Technically, you're completing objectives, but really, monsters and murder. Really, that's it. And let me tell you, it does it pretty well. With what I feel is a minimum of rules, it does a pretty good job of giving some pretty good rules for spawning, moving, equipping weapons, finding weapons, looting, and monsters and murder. Really, that's it. They come with these beautiful character sheets where you can track your experience with an experience tracker. These character boards further simplify the game, where you just know how many items you can hold because you have that many slots. You can easily rearrange what you have in your inventory because certain things, they're just listed there. They have an icon. You know what goes where. Armor goes here because there's an armor icon. I know what the exception is for my character because it's just printed out there. I don't really just have to know so much as I can just look down at my character board and it's a nice quick reference card. So I think we can all agree that Zombicide's kind of become a sort of a new gateway game of sorts these days. That is just a lot more action-based and thematic rather than a lot of the German games that served as gateway games from the time of from before. So, yeah. We're gonna do Gloom now. You might not have heard of Gloom. Actually, I don't hear a lot being said about Gloom. I'm usually not much of a hipster when it comes to board games. I usually play a lot of games that other people play, but this is one game my sister just gave me, and I think what it does very well. This is actually pretty good party-esque storytelling game. It's really designed for you to elaborate on the mechanics and come up with a little story as to how these misfortunes befell your character. Very Tim Burton-esque. The little silly stories you can create really are pretty shitty if you play with us, but are probably pretty good if you play with your friends who are good at such things. Anyways, Doom's good. Gloom is also good for those of you who like tabletop games. Although, I don't know, maybe Doom's good. I don't know if the new edition of Doom is good. So, you know, I was gonna say, hey, get Gloom. It's not the most well-known game, and it has this dynamic of these translucent cards where you have a character, you stack these misfortunes one on top of another on top of your character until they are finally dead? I'm not going to talk about that. Just go get Doom from Fantasy Flight. Who cares about this game and its unique little gimmick? We're here, big reveal, big twist at the end. No one could have seen this coming. Nobody's been talking about this game. This is the hit out of nowhere Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. I really don't think I actually really need to talk about the game much. And like all these other games, other people have talked about these games more and better, I'm sure. The app does take a lot. It does consolidate a lot. If you don't like apps, you don't like apps, but it's a great game. You're, you know, you're going, you got cards for different things, and let me tell you, this game is still a bit fiddly. You've got all sorts of decks. You've got health deck, which every card does something different. You've got sanity deck, and those things do different. You've got all these special items, common items here, and some of these have a back, but some of these are double-sided, so you don't know it's an item until you kind of just figure it out. You've got special condition cards. The enemies, they're really atrociously sculpted. They're in this army man, toy soldier, goopy mold. That I'm sure will take paint fine, but it's weird, and they go on these weird bases because I think they're trying to make these figures compatible with all the different games in the Fantasy Flight Arkham universe. And so you have these chits that you put into these borders, and it's terrible because I think they're trying to reuse assets from their other games. Once I kind of rebase these figures, not going to be that much of a problem, but that is fiddly. But the core of the game, where you're putting down tiles and you're talking to unique characters, there's just so many things you can do. There's a lot of interactivity. It doesn't just become about nerfing the same mechanic over and over again. Some missions, you're fighting these monsters and you're getting your butt handed to you most of the time. And other missions, you're just exploring and talking to people, and you're always second guessing yourself. And I'm constantly regretting my actions, and it does a great job of creating this pseudo board game narrative experience that few other games have done, and the app is a big part of that. The investigator figures, they're like, these two are this is made out of a different material. The investigators themselves. You've got these character cards, and they have a little story on the back, so like it a lot. It's kind of a grand game. I'm not gonna pick up and go like, you know, Zombicide is, but it does what it sets out to do, in my opinion. And another cool thing about this game is if you do have first edition, any of the expansions or the first edition itself, it comes with a conversion kit that can allow you to use those figures and characters and tiles as a built-in expansion. Well, this kind of fits the same category as Betrayal in the House of the Hill, but it really does a good job of maintaining its tone throughout the play. It just fits this universe that is the Fantasy Flight Arkham universe based on Lovecraft pretty well. Hasn't really broken itself yet. So for an adventure, a sort of story-based game, that's pretty good. Anyways, got some bonus games for you. And these are games that are just our first black game is Eldritch Horror. And let me tell you, I have given this game more chances than any other game I have ever played. I just keep thinking, oh, maybe we're playing it wrong. And it's not just me. Look how epic this world is. There's this epic map full of so many mysteries to solve and old ones to try to not let into your realm. But it's billed as a cooperative game, and there's no real way to cooperate in this game. You're just wandering around waiting for your doom to inevitably happen. You have these, you got these character sheets, they don't really mean much because you don't have any benefit for your character being built one way or another, because when you run into a challenge, there's only one way to approach it. It just comes down to a roll for a specific one of your attributes, and there's no alternate way to deal with a quest. You can't go into a portal together with your friend and we can pool our skills and do it together. No, it's a cooperative game with not really any cooperative mechanics. You have to kind of try to find a way to work around the game to cooperate with your friends, or just make up your own new rules. So that's just disappointing, you know? Ultimately, there's other games that does this sort of thing better. I would say Mansions of Madness, for example. Yeah, it doesn't do it on the scale, but it tells a better story. It allows you to cooperate with your friends, and when you inevitably meet your end, it kind of means something. And the second game to not play during Halloween of 2016 is Apples to Apples. It's not a very good Halloween game, so it's not good for Halloween, so don't play it. I mean, you think fall and apples and stuff, but it's not great. I don't know, maybe you could play it during fall or something. It's not a good Halloween game, so I don't recommend it. And I don't recommend Eldritch Horror, so.
It's a jester's hat.
That's a handsome. Well, that was our holiday spooky episode for. Thank you. See you guys later. Oh, and if you have a comment, do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave your opinions in the comment. People care a lot about them, so let's have them.
Ghosts, goblins, and monsters galore. I don't even want to trick or treat no more. Some of the scariest things I've ever seen. You know what I mean? It's Halloween. Ghosts, goblins, and monsters galore. I don't even want to trick or treat no more.
She's a big fan of the show, I hear. It's always good to meet our fans. Very good to meet you.
Spooky because they're just a head.